is late in the place to be. As you guys can see, I am on my way to teaching my classes, and I wanted to knock out another review that I've been meaning to do, but I wanted to see this movie twice, which I'm glad I did. So, the movie is Into the Spider-Verse, and a couple of things. One, I did get some comments about the way that I shoot my videos. And you're probably wondering, why do you shoot your videos kind of in a weird view? Most of my videos I shoot them from my car or when I'm out and about. And I want to give my channel a real world feel, kind of on the go type of thing. I think it's a lot charming and it sets me apart from a lot of other reviewers who sit and stage their own material. Everything I say, I want it to have a real view feel. So when you're tuning into my video, you know that like maybe I'm outside of the theater itself, or maybe I'm just running an errand. I don't know. It depends on what my day brings. But with that being said, I'm going to kind of give you a rundown of how I do these videos because my structuring has been kind of weird and sporadic. But what I like to do first is give an overall view of what I thought of the movie. Next, I'll move on to some pros and then cons, and then wrap it all up by telling you whether or not it is worth seeing this movie, and kind of what this movie is geared towards. So let's start off with an overview. First off, for those of you who don't know, Into the Spider-Verse is not a conventional Spider-Man story. It takes place in the comic books of Spider-Man in the Multiverse, which was a long overrunning arc by Marvel, where Spider-Man is introduced to the other Spider-Mans in different universes. For instance, some didn't have Peter Parker, or there was a female Spider-Man, or there's a cartoon Spider-Man. There's a Spider-Man Noir, who's like an old school black and white kind of Spider-Man who fought Nazis. There's a lot of material to play around with because everything they can do with the Spider-Man character is very vast. Now, that being said, I think that it was not, as far as the Spider-Man goes, that they focused on a couple of core characters and then a few extras as to not oversaturate the story. The story primarily focuses on Miles Morales, who, if anyone doesn't know, and oddly enough, was not my favorite Spider-Man character. I am Puerto Rican, and it's kind of funny because my brother was saying, well, you know, he's the only Hispanic Spider-Man, so why wouldn't you like him? But I never did. I liked his costume, I liked his skill set, but I never liked him as a character. I just thought he was very bland, generic, appeasing to a certain crowd of people. But I kind of grown to like this character through the course of this film. So, first off, let me start with different characters you have. You have Spider-Gwen, you have Spider-Ham, you have Spider-Man Noir, you have for the life of me, can't remember who she was, but kind of like an anime Spider-Man, and then you have Peter Parker, but from another dimension where he's kind of like in a midlife crisis. Mary Jane left him, made some bad choices as Spider-Man, and is kind of broken in a rundown apartment. And then you have the Spider-Man from the Miles Morales universe, who something happens, and needless to say, the crown is passed on to Miles Morales. Let me get to the pros now that we got the characters out of the way. The character development was excellent. I like the fact that we have seen the story about Uncle Ben dying about 16 or 17 different times. And quite honestly, it just gets old. And if I had to hear one more time, with great power comes great responsibility, I would kill Uncle Ben myself. But this just kind of pokes fun of that, which I really liked, and it doesn't retrend on old material. Each Spider-Man has their own person that they've lost, and I think that that adds a real gravity to the story because you're not having characters that are essentially all the same. They all fight for the same cause, but they all have different reasons and motivations, which changes how they choose to protect their side of the universe. For instance, Spider-Man Noir is more of a fighting Nazis, very like old school kind of talk, a bit of a brawler, where the Spider-Man, the Peter Parker from I want to say Earth 67, he is more of a downtrodden, kind of cynical about the suit and the responsibility, just kind of saving the world just because. He's really lost his motivation after Mary Jane left him. Spider-Gwen is directly connected to Miles Morales, but I don't want to give away any spoilers, but let's just say her reasons are really personal to why she wants to stop everything. And then you have the other characters that kind of, they don't go really deep into their backstory, but it's enough for you care about these characters. And I think a good protagonist is one I can care with. And I gotta say, I cared about what happened to each and every one of them. There's a particular scene with the anime Spider-Man, Spider-Girl, Penny Parker, and her suit that I'm not gonna lie, I got a bit emotional about. And it was because you're so invested with these characters and their missions. Now, this brings me to the villains, because no Spider-Man film is good without its villains. Now, the main villain, Kingpin, is excellent. Levi Sherbats? I apologize if I'm butchering his name, but he plays in a great show called Ray Donovan. He's a great actor. And as a matter of fact, one of his first movies was the Scream franchise. He did Scream 1, 2, and 3. And he played Cotton Weary. For all of you who might not know what Ray Donovan is, that's where he's from. He's also played in a lot of other movies. He's played in The Fifth Wave and a bunch of other different films and small cameo roles. But he is a great actor. And he really brings a gravity to Kingpin. Not only making him this really brutal and kind of sadistic villain, but also giving him a sensitive side. I'm not going to tell you his motivations because it'll be a huge spoiler, but if you've seen the movie, you know what his motivations are, and they're quite simple. And I think that's what makes Kingpin a compelling villain, because of the fact that we can all relate with the reason why he's doing what he's doing. Now, as far as it goes, the rest of the villains I found were kind of not needed. My one gripe, and this kind of gets into my cons, if I had to say what my one gripe with the film was that it's backup villains, except for one. There was a Hispanic Scorpion, Tavius, who, if you haven't read the comics, that's Octopus's daughter. And it's really confusing because if you've never read the comics, you don't really know who these other villains are. So there's not a lot of need to care about what happens to them. They just kind of become background fodder for the heroes to go up against. I appreciate them trying to focus all of their attention on one villain, which is Kingpin. And he's a great villain. But I would have liked a little bit more backstory on the villains as much as they highlighted the spider people. I thought it would have given it a nice little bit of contrast. But that being said, it doesn't take away from the movie. The sad part is it doesn't really add anything. Who, I don't want to spoil anything, but he has a very pivotal role towards the end of the film. Then you could still make the same movie with just those two characters and throw in a bunch of generic like henchmen to go and do the stuff that Kingpin needed done. I honestly think you didn't need the Doc Ock character or the Scorpion. They felt very thrown in there as a fan service. Um, that being said, the animation is outstanding. Now, I did hear a lot of comments, and this is true. The animation is kind of jarring from the perspective of it's something I've never seen done personally in this style of movie, but it's very comic book like to where it's all. They even got like thought bubbles and those little yellow quotations where the character is thinking. I thought it's very clever and it added to it. But if you're not used to the fast movements and the quick jarring of the camera, it can make you kind of sick. I would say that's a negative, but also a positive because it's something unique that's never been done before. But at the same time, for newer audiences, it can be quite unsettling. So if you get motion sickness easily, or you had an averse like movies like Cloverfield and things like that, this might kind of take you out. But the musical score is excellent. The urban music really adds to the with what was going on with the story. The fact that a sound effect would be animated into a word bubble like the old school days was awesome. Not really get the deeper meaning that it was talking about. I think this film is go and see this movie because it's quite an amazing movie. And you see the film. What'd you think of the film? Did you like it? Did you not like it? Did you like the animation style? Did you kind of get sick from watching how quickly everything was moving and things like that? Also, leave a like below, and please, if you know other people who would like movie reviews, link them to my channel below, because the more subscribers I get, the more I will post new videos. So anyways, my next video I'm going to be working on is Creed. It's for a coworker friend of mine. And until the next time, I'll see you guys at the movies. Bye.